Today, just to make it even more interesting, I'm gonna show a little bit about my project currently I'm working on. So this is on my second screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, the project I'm working on, okay, it's broken. I can find here. So basically, I have a mock-ups that we use. Basically, it looks like this. We're trying to build this application. It is a furniture store or like a company that produces furniture, and some of them like handmade or they have stores in all over the United States. And basically they are doing what they had an old heritage system, and it was old code. It was more than 10 years, I don't know. And then they're trying to modernize. So we are trying to build new application with microservices. Some of the AWS cloud services we are using, it's on cloud, and then UI is built with React and TypeScript. So as of now, we just building this, find products, find customers, and start the cart. And we're trying to meet the, we're trying to release it in second week of December. So just to give you more information, this is how it looks. You can search here. As soon as you click, there will be more information, and you can add to your cart, and you can click on your cart and check out the items you're trying to purchase. So in future, you might work in similar projects. So as you can see, it's all, whatever you are building, it's similar, but a little more advanced, or it uses more systems, or it uses like real data, maybe more complicated, but still, this is something similar that you will be working on in the future. So this is another idea for you to use in the resume, or when you talk in the interview, you can talk like, oh, I work in this kind of company, and we were building a web application for the stores that sell this furniture, like an e-commerce website. And if you need, we can do another session, and I'll show you everything, and you will memorize, and you will use it in your interviews. All right, that was it.
So this is Kushtar, so it's built it by all with React.
Yeah, right now it's like maybe 40 or 50% is already done. We have some functionalities working, and we're trying to add more functionality or feed with the real data.
Okay.
Yeah, it's React application basically. Okay, let's get started, and let's.
I have a question.
Sure.
By the end of the cohort, can you feel? Did you feel yourself that you can build this kind of cart, like basket, to buy items, purchase items, or you guys built with the team and you learn how to code that part by yourself from somewhere else?
So we were building as a team. We used to have this kind of classes where you build your project and everyone has their own piece. But to bring everything together, you have to spend more time. But if you have that time, you can build it, and it's possible. What I was doing is we used to build as a team, and we tried to do internship ourselves. But we had people from different not only states but countries, and we couldn't really come together, and everyone built their own. And after, like, I went on the market, and after a month I decided to go to the internship. So there I really worked on another e-commerce website. And then after the internship, after 2 months, I had a story to tell, and I was like telling that project about.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do you guys really use this idea here when you're trying to solve? Does it always work?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So how did you find the internship?
Internship. So SciTech has their own like firms or companies that they work as a partner. We do something like, I mean, SciTech does some consulting job. So they have people in network or companies that building their React application, or they are building their UI on their for their business. So Marat or one of us, our mentors, can talk to them and make a deal that you come and you work there as an intern.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I know that you stopped somewhere at 39. Is that correct? From these
Yes.
questions, junior questions, right?
Mhm.
Okay. 39. Then we will start with the 40 today. Get element less than 100 at property. Write a function called get element that's property given an object and a key given less than the property. If it is empty, it should return an empty array. The array contains no element less than 100, it should return an empty array. The array should return an empty array again. If there is no property at the key, it should return an empty array. Okay. Who wants to help us or start with something? How did you guys understand this question? Or if you didn't get it, you can ask questions. Anyone has idea how to solve it? Like what to start with?
We can use filter to get
Mm-hmm.
the elements. But first we can check the length if it's empty or not, and then go filter.
In the example, it says what there is an object, right? There is the key and then output. Key console output 20 and 50. What is less than 100? Okay. All right. Do you wanna guys just start typing here?
Can we work on REPL so we can see each step?
Yeah. You should join from the SciTech one so you can guys see later on. You can guys start looking at it and yeah, just do it here. I couldn't sign in from the Murat's account, so we will just try to solve here. The question was what? Get everything right. So I will ask you guys to be more active here. because it feels like only you're talking and nobody else is here. So if you could at least discuss with me and we will do it together.
Kushtar, can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is the question. So what we have to do is write a function called get elements less than 100 at property. Object and key returns an array containing all the elements of the array located in the at the given key that are less than 100. So these are the edge cases. So we have to cover these. So who wants to lead us today? Any volunteers?
So we can assume that it's going to be only one property inside object. And it's always going to be array.
Mhm.
So then first we need to check the lengths of array.
So
If
just start with the if. Okay.
if object and like in the brackets, I guess,
Mhm.
key lengths less than, or I mean, is if it's 0,
Like equals to 0.
yeah, equals 0, then return empty string, empty array.
Like this.
Yes.
So we're saying that we covered this first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna put just that we covered it. Okay, and then how about second one? If the array contains no element less than 100.
We can do like second if.
Yeah, we can start with that, and then we can try to, what is it called? Refactor this code after.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking this similar approach, right? So just saying that on the key. So what do you guys use when you want to check if it contains or doesn't contain?
We can filter.
Mhm. Is it the right way to do it? Or we just used object? So what it takes first?
I don't think filter works on object because it's an object, right? It only works on arrays.
Hmm.
So in this case, we need to look through the object's key, which is array, right?
So this way.
Why we don't just use the for loop, like to ask, like, and then check if the length, if we have a like bigger than
Mhm.
less than 100, then that return the which one is less than 100. That's it.
Filter.
That's one
It's
approach.
the same. Yeah.
But okay.
Is there any approach? Any ideas, please? Always, I mean, book is always good, and it doesn't mind, you know, if you ask for it, it will do it. So object should we return, or I mean, do we convert to object or we just pass it?
We can just use that.
Is it add?
Yeah, can we just object that length? That length and
Mhm.
I++, so we can console log and see what is like what is gonna show us. I mean, it's gonna give us the whole the land,
Let's try again.
like object that key. Can you console log object that I mean, no, not the key, the square bracket I. Yeah.
So what? Say here. This. Okay.
But it should be return object, not the empty array. No, obj.
But it's gonna return just the same thing. Then. This means- What's wrong here, guys?
I mean, on the for loop, it's object and there is no length on the object. And if you're looping, we need to check every single element and check if it's less than 100. And if the all elements are less than 100, then return the empty array.
Right. So what do we do with the object here? Do we check the object length?
We need, I mean, we can use object entries method to convert it into array and then check the lengths.
The entries because it's been a while.
But easier to use filter without the loop. So
So we are looking here. Right? I'm not quite following what we have to do here after in this conditional statement.
I mean, if you want to use the links, we need to convert it into array, but it's object. So we need to like use for in loop, not like this way. And then inside the property, do another loop, but we can directly use filter instead of for loop.
So we can do it this way, right? Actually.
Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, one approach would be this, right?
Mhm.
We're checking each element's key lengths.
Mhm.
So we're saying again, if the object key length is checking contains, right? Then it will be just one key. So we use contains here.
I think it includes.
Includes, okay. Yeah. Includes. Includes.
So includes checks the one element, I mean, one specific element.
Or we can do object key and square brackets I. Yeah. Is it less than 100? Then to push new array.
I think if we had done the filter way, it would have been easier.
Yeah, filter.
Maybe one code.
Okay. For that case, filter.
Okay. It will be object key filter, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and a square.
Right. Yeah, square.
Kushtar, I have a question. When do you decide dot notation or bracket notation? Like in this case, why do you go with bracket notation, not dot notation?
If you read about it, there is a good explanation, but I don't really remember. But basically, there is two cases when you want to use it's just around the flexibility that gives you, but like I cannot really remember right now, but you can use both, not much difference. Anyone knows what's the difference?
So as I know, like the square brackets lets you pick the keys like dynamically, whereas if you put dot, you would have to know the name of the key that you're referring to, like exactly, you know.
Yep. That's the answer, I guess. So here we check for what, let's say element. So,
Element less than 100. And then
and
we
also,
can do lengths. after it. Like after the bracket, we can check the lengths. If it's 0, then we just return. Like if it's empty array, if all the elements less than 100, then it will be empty array already. And then we do lengths 0, then return the empty array again.
so right now,
mm,
we have something here. Okay? Is it right there? No.
No, just the dot lengths after the parentheses.
I think it's if the array is empty, it's anyway going to be empty. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because filter brings back array, right?
Yeah. So I think we just need to store this in new variable and return that variable.
Or you can just
Yeah.
return it here on the same line. Instead of the
Oh.
line 12 and 13, we can just
Yeah.
return this line.
Yeah. And before we can do array is array of object key, and object has this key. And I think that's it.
So what do you guys want to do?
I think this line 16, it should be inside of if, and the if should have condition like
Like second condition?
no, yeah. Like
No, I don't think we need this,
in
right?
yeah, inside of 13, yeah, instead of 13, I think we need this filter.
No, I
Yeah,
don't
here.
even think we need this if statement, right? Because filter
No.
returns it regardless, right? The array.
No, if condition we need, so there's a notes after line 5, we have notes. Is the key is array, or is the object has this property of key? So we need to give condition.
Mm.
Yeah, so on the line 13, we need that filter, I think.
After return?
Yeah. Oh, not after return. I think we don't need return.
So basically we are checking if it's empty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we are checking for the if the object keys are less than 100.
Mm-hmm.
Here, what is going to return object key filter?
Oh, yeah, we can also return here. Return line 13.
I think, I mean, the
Yeah.
point 6 and 7 are like separate things, and we're doing the first one. And the
So I
filter
think
is the
if
second.
the array is empty, the filter will go through the empty array, and it will be empty. The result anyway will show empty array, I think. And the second condition, if the array contains no elements, it anyway will show the empty array. And
No, it says no elements less than 100, not just empty. It's less than 100.
yeah. Anyway, it's going to be show the empty, because like if we filter, there will be no elements, right?
I mean, what if there are bigger elements?
Yeah, it will show empty because we're filtering, and filter will show only that which are less, right?
Hi, can I say we have done this with Aselia, and she said that
Oh,
on the line 12 we need to do if object key. It's not the key. Yeah, you can you delete everything after the object?
Yeah.
It's object that has own property in the square brackets key
No, no,
has own property.
it's
Key.
I think, yeah.
And we need to check if it is array. Array that is array. Array with the big, yeah. That is array.
That is
Square brackets object. Oh, not square. The
this one.
yeah, this one. Object square brackets key. Yeah, and return
The filter,
object key that filter. Element fat arrow element less than 100 and
Okay, sorry. Filter.
element L or EL or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Fat arrow element less than 100. Yeah, and after we need to have else statement which will return empty array. Otherwise, yeah, it will return empty array. Yeah, because without else statement, filter does not return anything and the portal is not accepting it. So we need to have else. Yeah, and return object only. Line 23, we don't need it. Yep, and
So how many cases we are covering? So we are checking if it's empty, right? Is this? We have
if
to
it
have
has the
this
key,
one.
and
No?
no, if it is empty, then it's gonna go for the else statement, right? So here it's checking if it has the property with the name key. Yeah,
So
and if that key is array, if not, then it's gonna return empty array.
if it's okay. So we covered first one, right? And then second one is here we're covering this line, line 7, right?
Yes.
So here we check the property, right? So this is line 8. This guy?
Come again? And the last one is also checking if it doesn't have the key, it should return empty array. You can copy the example from the portal and check, or put this code to the portal. It's gonna accept.
So we are calling.
Yeah, we should have 20 and 50.
Oh. So if we like,
and if the array is gonna be empty, it's gonna return empty.
Maybe we can check in the portal because they have tests.
so again, I'll explain it, okay? What are we doing there? First one, we're covering this that has own property what is it called? Function. It checks for the value if the object has this value. And then we put in this conditional in another condition here, checking if array, I mean this object is already array, empty array or not. And then if it passes those two conditions, then we know that it already has some values inside and it has an array inside. Then we return that object and filtering. We are filtering out with those that has only less than 100. And if the whole condition here doesn't work, then we know that it's empty and we are just returning it. Sense? If you guys didn't get it, like this is the perfect time to ask. You don't have to be shy or yeah.
Can you explain it one more time, Kushtar, please?
So this has own property, has if you Google it, array has this function, right? Method. Yeah, in other words, it's method, and it returns Boolean indicating has the specified property or not. So if you have this object and you check for, or you assign this 42, and then you check for object, does it has this property or not, then it will return true if it has it. If it doesn't have, then it will return false. So kind of Boolean function or method that checks whether it has the value or not. It's really good if you, every time when you learn something new, you come to this site and take a look like what's the meaning of this method or what it does.
So in our condition, it's saying that true, right? Because it has this property and it is array, which is true again. This is why it is returning, it's filtering and
So these conditionals, you can also look it up and see in JavaScript how it works. Logical and ampersand. So you know that whenever there is this ampersand sign, two of them, you're kind of checking for the both sides. If the first part or the left side is true, then go to the next part. So if it fails from the first one, it's not going to go to the next one. Right? Okay. This one you can take a look later on, but this one is
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can we try to delete else part and
Right?
run?
That else part?
Yeah,
Yeah,
can we
it's
run
not
it?
gonna return anything.
Yeah, probably
I have
gonna
checked. Yeah.
explain. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We can do like, I don't know, it should return empty array if it doesn't have any values. I mean, again, if you look at this question and try to solve on your own, you will have different approach. If we ask somebody and who hasn't like good problem solving skills and ask them, they might use some of this, maybe this one, or they might use something else because JavaScript is pretty flexible and it allows you to use multiple functions or methods just to solve one question or multiple questions. So this is one of the approach. You don't have to think that this is the only way to solve it. Okay, this is how you submit, right? That's it.
Yeah, and I think with the question 41, there is mistake in the portal. Because it's not accepting.
Oh, you guys already solved it?
Yeah.
Okay, then you help us here.
Yeah, it's the same actually as 40, but it's gonna be, yeah, element gonna be bigger than 10.
Bigger, okay. So who wants to lead us? Or you can type it, I can react it, or you can just
Can I say something? I think they want to write then 100 and they type mistake in the typing. That's why the call is not accepting.
greater than 10.
Yeah, probably it's greater than 100.
Then it will be here also 100. Here 100. Okay, without looking to the previous code or our solution, who wants to dictate here or talk out, and we will try to solve it. I mean, I'll try to type it as you guys talk to me. Who wasn't really active today? Come on. Because I heard only 3 female voice and Aktan, that's it. And there was a guy that asking only general questions, not problem related. Okay, I have a nice here, actual phone, okay. Who wants to go? Nobody?
Can I try?
Sure, yeah. You want to type or you want to just talk?
I can just talk.
Yeah, okay.
So the logic is the same here
Mhm.
as in previous one, right? So we have an if statement.
Yep.
We create a function with yes, object and key as a parameter, and inside our if statement we say if our object has own property,
Mhm.
has a key as its own property.
Key.
And if the is not in okay, right, and array is array.
You understand, right? Why we're doing this?
Yeah, because there is a in the notes they say, right, if the array contains, if the property at the given key is not an array, it should return an empty array. So we need to check if its key is array. So we say object key in brackets. I think brackets key.
Did you understand what's the difference?
Yes, Karina said key bracket is more like
If you don't know,
dynamic.
yeah, if you don't know the value, if you don't
I
know.
actually always thought it's the same, but I remember when we solved some REPL questions before, it made a difference. So I think I just need to read more on that.
Yeah. So
Key.
when you're using that that notation, you can use the value itself. You know the value and you check right away. But if you don't know, if you, for example, passing first or second key, or if it's something you're expecting to user to define or something else, then you put in the brackets and you use the variable inside the brackets.
Okay. And then we return our object key with filter, right? We loop through and we say element fat arrow.
If its element is,
if element is what is it, greater than, right? Greater than 10. And 10.
that's
okay. So it's going to return any element which is greater than 10. And else return if contains no if there is empty, it should return empty array. Okay, else return empty array.
So was this issue you were talking? Was it somewhat right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, REPL gives the answer, but I guess here that this portal has an issue.
Okay.
The element more bigger than 100, it's accepted, that one.
Really? Oh, okay. The issue might be the description of the problem is correct, but the test cases might be wrong. So they're expecting 100. They might be typo in the test cases, because you know that Tenarvike sometimes create these test cases or they try to use from the websites. So maybe they're copying or they were implementing and typing. They might just mistype it.
There are a lot of typos, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens, yeah. All right, we're submitting this one as well. 42. Okay, first element of a property, something different now. Write a function called get first element of property given an object and a key. So since we're learning about the object and we are trying to solve some object related questions or problems, we kind of know what we can use, right? We know what kind of methods are there. So you already have a thought on what to use or what can we use. So in this case, it says we have to use first element. In the previous problem, we were talking about the dynamic, and then the specific is the key and value. So what you guys having some hints here, ideas, what to use?
We can use find, which returns the first element that it finds, and everything else will return undefined.
Okay, that's one approach. What else we can use?
Maybe like we will have the same if statement, like array is array, has own property, and return object key and the index 0 and else undefined.
Okay. So let's try that. So you're saying if statement again?
If so array is array, yeah. Object.
You want to follow it?
Yeah, object square key and also and another condition, and object has own property key that has own property that key and yeah, here key, and another condition is and object square key length bigger than 0. It should return return object square key yeah, key and square 0 else undefined else so return undefined.
Anybody has any objections at this point?
Yeah,
Anybody already tested this?
Yeah, the answer is not correct, but I think it's the problem in the portal because
REPL gives the answer yes as an output is 1, but yeah, here.
yeah, the first key is 1000, but it's showing 20. Expected 20.
so maybe instead of 0 should be 1.
Instead of 0, maybe.
Yeah,
But it's saying first. Okay.
Yeah, there might be some confusion, right? Sometimes you mean first element as at index 0, but somebody else understands it as a first index, not 0 index. Okay, this was pretty easy, right? Anybody has any questions here? I pretty you were talking, right? You want to explain briefly?
Yes, so before starting coding, we have some notes, and so like the object key shouldn't be empty, and also object should has his own property, and the object key should be an array. That's why we created 3 conditions. And also like they just want to have one element. They asking about only one element, so that's why we just returned object key, and we give the index that way. And in other cases it should be undefined. That's why we we having else statement.
Right. Yeah. Why I'm just asking or repeating the same question, right? you were able to, you should be able to explain your code sometimes, or for example, during the interview, like you might be really good solver, like you solving the question in 2 minutes, you type the code, and when they ask, if you can't explain it, it's also like a red flag, that because they want to hire the people who want to talk and explain and discuss things. But if you just type, if you just do your work and you don't talk, you don't give any feedback, then like someone in the team might say, we're not hiring this person because they are not open, they don't talk. So that's why it's really important for you to talk and explain what you wrote. And during the code reviews, sometimes they ask like, why did you use this one? You could use, you know, shorter version, or you could use, for example, just an object method, and then you have to explain it. Yeah, moving to the next one. Last element of the property. Again, object and key. Return last element of the array located in a given key. If the array is empty, it should return undefined. If the property given is not an array, it should return undefined. Okay, it's a bit more complicated, but if the property at the key, it should return undefined. Okay. Again, we start with the if condition again. Our good old friend if condition. So what are we checking first? If the array is empty. So we already solved 3 questions. What we use again? Who wants to talk? No, those who didn't talk yet, please. I see there are how many? 21 people, but only 3 or 4 people are actively talking. Hello. Okay, girls little active today. What about guys? Only Akhtan talked at the beginning, but now he's silent. There is who? I see Rajab there, Anat, Erlan, and Matar.
I'm sorry, I got stuck in the traffic. It's so crazy in downtown. There's something events going on, and I swear I cannot get out from here.
Okay, Matar has an exception. Okay.
I will watch the recording about the
problem.
second. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No worries. Yep. Okay. Tamar can talk. Okay.
I'm a bit behind this question, so it's a bit hard for me right now.
Not okay. But did you get the previous like solution here?
Yes, I guess so.
So as we talked again, array, we kind of we are grabbing the array object itself and checking, we passing this function is array, right? So we are grabbing the function from array, and you cannot just use like is array right away. And here we have to pass the value actual that we are testing. So in that case, you have to use array, and there is some cases you have to use string that, you know, you see all these methods you can use again. Sometimes you have to use string, sometimes array, sometimes big object like this. And then if there is an explanation, yeah, I mean, something similar like this. Object that is signed, and then you inside you give a value or whatever. And you are the target you are giving here and the source. So you are giving this value to pass to the source and will assign it. But you see, you cannot just use assign. You cannot just say assign, target, and source. You have to use this object because it's the property of object. It knows that what you are passing is object in that case.
So when we do array dot is array, are we checking or we are assigning?
We are not assigning, we are checking, because whenever you see functions like is array example again, right? These are the functions that usually when you see is, it's a Boolean function or method. It always checks, does it has it, is it there, if it exists, if it contains. So whenever you say is, and especially in React, you will see this kind of methods like, is it enabled, is it active, is it loaded, is loaded, or yeah, this is a good example, like is loaded React. For example, here, you see here is loaded false. So when you are doing the React, you will have this kind of states when you have to check. For example, you have a button, but you don't want it be clickable before you apply any function there. For example, you're trying to check out, right? You have to select how many items you want to purchase. And then before you're clicking, just before you're saying check out or purchase it or buy, you have to first select your count, how many you want. So in that case, you can put a condition. If it's 0, then disable the button. And then only when you select from the drop down how many items you want, then that button becomes active, and then you can check this state to true. So here you see, it's saying this set state is loaded to true if it this condition here. But if you don't want, if there is still some error or they didn't do the proper selection, then you say keep it false. And at the beginning, you give it false. Again, coming back to the array, if the array is checking whether it's true, does it has these values inside this array or not? Okay. Has own property, also similar, is or has, it's also Boolean. Who wants to, Kanat, do you want to try this? Or who wants to help Kanat?
I'm not sure, but yeah, if you can help, let's try.
So first, let's check if it's empty. So we're taking that approach that we just talked. Where is array? If you are checking, do you have to check if it's array, right? Yeah, here. Given key, it's not an array, we should return undefined. So we saying if the given object at key.
Can you zoom in? It's too tiny.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Sorry, I cannot really control it, but this is much I can do. So here we're checking for the array if it's array. So in this case, if it's true, what we say?
I think we should check the next condition if it's true. If it's
so
not,
we can just continue here, right? It's the ampersand.
Yeah.
In else part, we can return empty array. Correct. This way. But now we have to continue here.
So we need to check if it's has some values in it, right? If the array is not empty, so object that key is not equal to 0.
What else we can do there? How else we can check?
Has own property
to
check if it has the keys or not.
Yeah. So has own property is really handy. If you get used to it, whenever you are working with object, you will use right away, because a lot of problems will ask you to check if it's empty or if it has this value. And whenever you remember you are working with object, you will use this right away. But here you're passing object key, and then actually it's not empty array, right? We return it undefined. So we covered these two. No property. Okay. How do you check if there is property, if there is a value or no value in the object? Or do you guys think we covered with this one?
Yeah, I think with the has own property, I think we covered it.
Okay. Let's test it.
And then we're supposed to get the last element
Yeah,
in
we,
the
Oh,
key,
okay.
right?
So we here you have to return last element. Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. How do we return the last element?
Object
Return object key.
length -1.
Object that what?
Do we need to filter or look through?
Key dot. Oh,
Who already solved this question?
Oh, I did. So
Sorry.
like Karina said, we can do, or we can create a variable. Inside a variable, we can do,
Like last element?
yeah. The variable last, and so we can. I think, yeah, object
object
key.
key dot length -1. I think that will work, right?
Yeah.
So then we don't need this one.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
need.
Where?
The length, not the. So we can do in the square bracket. Yeah. We can do in square brackets key. So in square brackets object key dot length -1. So
Oh, you mean
after
type?
after that we need to square brackets. Yeah, here after key we need square bracket. No, outside. Oh yes, object key here. Object square bracket key dot length -1. Yeah.
So why are we taking this approach? Can you explain?
Because we want to get the index of last element. That's why we are the length give the whole length. It will give the number of the length, and but the -1 it will be the last index. So
Need to not the index, but the actual element.
I think by
Yeah.
creating the second object key dot length -1, we're reaching out to index.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're setting index, and object key of with that index is gonna give us the last element.
Yeah.
So first part, object that key or object that in the brackets, we are saying at this object and at this key, and then we're going to that key to the array because this key is array right here, and then we go into that array and we are going to the second dimension of this array, and we are checking it. Object that keys length. When you do object that key length, it will show the length of the array. Basically, if there is like 5 elements, it will show 4. And then when you want to return the last one, because it starts from the 0, we just we just go back one backwards. In that case, it will be -1. And we check. Yep.
Yeah. Also, we can just the last part we can give in the variable and just put that variable instead of this. So if maybe this code is very long, and we can create a new variable. Yeah. Mhm.
Middle name.
No, it will be object key dot length -1, and
Storing it here from the beginning.
mhm.
Yeah, that's also works. I mean, by the way, here.
No, just that length -1. So here we getting the number, yeah, and this last element we can put in the inside of
So here
yeah.
we are defining that we want to always have in this element, I mean this variable, the last element, and then we don't need really this object key here. You can just pass it here. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's gonna also work the same way.
I didn't get why we're doing 2 times object key. Can you explain that?
Here or the
When we're
previous
returning,
one?
yeah. So here we're doing object key, and then in curly brackets we're doing object key again.
Yeah, sure. So you see, whenever you think about the array or objects of array, you can think something like this. So this is one that this is regular array, but when you use object, because object is already like a higher order, or it's already object, right? It's not primitive, so it can have like a property inside property. Hope it makes sense. So something like this. So this is regular array, and then when you have array of arrays, you will have this kind of picture in your mind. And when you have array of arrays inside of array, then you can imagine something like this. Because our imagination, we can imagine it, we can think about it, but in the programming, you have to take this kind of approach. You have to use this part. What was that the question?
The slice method here, I guess.
Hmm?
Object key dot slice -1. I think it should work.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
there is more approach, of course. You can try that one too. So you're saying object that key. So
Slice.
So I'm gonna use this first approach, and then second we just gonna say object that key that slice.
Yeah, in -1, the last character. Oh, it returns array, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to still go to index and get the value. I don't know.
Yeah, approach might be maybe again like object that key that length again. No. Okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna just leave it. Okay, guys. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, as a solution, we can do it in a variable and just get the index like in the next line code.
So who was asking that why we need to use again object key and object key? So I don't know where.
I was.
Yeah. So basically.
Oh, in the first object key, we're accessing to the object's key, and then it's array, right? So we're going inside the array in the second object key. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then we're minusing 1 from its length, and we're getting to the last element from that.
Yeah. So this object, we are saying this is an object, right? We're defining it. And then we have a key. This key is, let's say this is an array, first array. And as soon as you type something inside like this, it will have array inside of array. That's why we have to say object at, for example, not this key. Maybe we were using like first row, let's say first row, right? Then we would use this key here, first row, and then object keys. Let's say this is a string, like say apple, here's orange. So in this case, we could use, instead of this square brackets, we could use apple, and we know it always returns apple. If you wanted to get the length of the first element here. Okay, so the first half is we are defining which key to grab or which key to open. And then the second one is saying go through that array of this key and then get the length.
Also, we can use method pop. It's also the easy way.
The pop, yeah, but we have to, when you're using pop, you have to store it somewhere, right? In a variable.
No. Pop mutates the array, so I don't think that's a good solution, right? Because we're just supposed to bring it back, right? Not delete it.
Yeah, I mean, pop, it removes, and when you remove, you can store in a different array and then use that array.
Yeah, but like when we turn pop, it will return the last.
But it changes the array.
Okay,
I think when you do pop, like it removes the last one and returns the original array.
You can try actually. I think it will return the pop. Yeah, after object key, we can delete and just put pop, dot pop, and brackets. Yeah.
I think it returned the last one.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to return like 1, 2, for example, in this object, like in the key, not the popped item?
Okay, it says, you see, removes the last element. So we're saying remove the last element, but return it. So I think it works that way. It says returns that element. You see, it not only removes, but returns the last element that you removed. So for example, if we add in tomato here and running it, it returns tomato first. But if we had another one, like again, apple, there is no apple. So and say pop, just pop, it always grabs the last one. So here it will say apple. See? So you see, when you read it, it's a good information here. Returns that element. It not only removes from the array, but it returns that removed item. This method changes the length of the array. It mutates it. So you see, there is two approaches. And probably there is more than this, more than two. That was our second approach. All right, we're good here. What time is it? 8:51. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll take a break a little bit. If you guys want. If you don't want, I'm okay to stay here. Okay, thank you, Kanat. You tried and you helped us. Next one, someone else has to raise their voice and help us here. Get odd length words at property. Okay, kind of similar approach, but we have to check the condition where we have to check how many the lengths, if it's 3 or 5 or 7. So whenever there is like not odd, right? What's the opposite of odd? I forgot. So whenever there is 2 or 4, we're not returning those. But if it's odd number, then we return those. And of course, there is some conditions at edge cases. So if it's array, empty array, if contains no odd lines elements, empty array. If the property given is not an array, it should return an empty array. Yeah, almost similar question.
Okay, can I do it?
For that, yep.
So it's gonna be almost same approach. Like first we have to check is the array, is the object key.
This way, right?
Yes, object key, and object has like own property, has a key property.
Yep, we're checking if it contains that element or that key.
And after that, once we are done, so we can just, I think we don't have to check this.
So we're checking for if it's empty. Second one contains odd length elements. So here we can check another one because we didn't cover this one yet.
No, if it is contained, should return empty array. No, if it is contains odd. Okay, so we can use the else if statement. We can do like we can use the filter, right? Object that object square bracket key filter return, yes.
Again, our below object key and then
that filter.
Then
the element, like for example, element, the function, and element that length.
what do you say?
Like
It's odd.
divisible of 2, right?
Mod 2 percentage.
What's that called? Percentage sign. Or what's the name of it?
Module.
Modulus.
Module, but modular. Right?
Yeah.
There is JavaScript version of it, or whatever.
Yeah, modulo, I think so.
So if the length is what? Modulo.
Yeah, 2.
Modulo of 2.
Not equal to 1.
This way.
Or not equal to 0, it should be 0, yes.
Okay, let's think. We're saying that if it's
if the length is
divisible to 2 and the remainder is not 1, then
No,
that's divisible.
Is 0.
0.
0, yes. It should be 0.
Why 0?
Yeah, because of we use the exclamation mark, not equal to.
Yeah.
And
Then
I think, and then else return else if, I think we can use it. I'm not sure with that. So return empty array. Like, can we try with return empty array? So let's see what we're gonna receive.
So empty array, empty array, empty array, empty array. Yeah, 4 times. It wants us to return empty array. Anybody already run this?
Oh, okay. But if it is odd, it's gonna empty, right?
You guys also see this overlapping text?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's with, I don't know why it happened. Okay. If you want to change, what do you want to put equals to 1 just to test it?
Okay, it's returning empty array, the second one, and the first one is returning, oh, mine is returning the like even numbers, even length, the it and sum, right? On the second one is returning empty array. Okay.
Yeah, which is wrong because we're supposed to return odd, right? That's why we put 0.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
basically it passes this condition but fails somewhere here.
Mhm.
But when it fails, it returns empty.
Mhm.
But what if you delete exclamation mark and just say equal to 0, equal to 1?
1.
Yeah, I think that's gonna work.
Yep.
Yeah. Same.
Okay. I want someone to go through it and kind of explain it again. Who wants to try? Okay, I think I didn't hear anything from Axel Pon, Elia to support. Karina were talking at the beginning. Who else? Rajab, last time we talked, but today you're not talking.
Okay, let's try.
Yeah, so we already explained this few times, but you can go ahead and start from here. Why are we doing this and what's this approach is about? Or whatever, if you want from here, it's okay too. Sorry, I'll zoom in a little bit.
Yes, I got it.
Let's say you have to explain it again. And
Again? Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
like if it's interview, I give you
Okay,
a
okay.
task and you solved it, and I'm like, I'm not a technical person, and you have to explain why.
Okay, okay. Get odd length word at property. So we have object.
First of all, how did you understand the question or problem? What does it mean? Get the old length.
Odd like modulus 2. It will be equal to 0.
Okay.
Pardon. Sorry. Equal to 1.
Let's say I don't know what's modulo. How would you explain this problem?
Modulo is like divided. We have to divide 2, and we have to triple equal and assign 2. Like if even, we have to say 0.
It's reminder.
Yes, reminder. Yes.
So I was gonna search for modulo in other words and give you like whatever. I don't know. There is different versions, but you can say remainder.
Remainder.
So you're saying that odd means remainder equals to 0 or 1, right?
If odd, it will be 1. If even, it will be equal to 0.
Okay.
But I unfortunately I didn't cover about filter method, like so has own property. I didn't understand, so I have to study.
You have a great chance right now to take a look. So let's see. The filter method creates a new array. Is all element that pass the test implemented by the provided function. So filter returns new array. And when you do this kind of condition, when you're checking for something, it kind of like a phase control, it checks for it. If you pass, you go to the new array. If you don't, you just leave.
So filter checking every index of array, no? Or object?
First of all, it's a higher order function, right?
Yes.
You have to pass and it return. You have to use this, what is it called, arrow function. And then you have to provide another condition or test there. I don't know how many examples there. But filter is prime. For example, you can check for prime numbers. It's similar to odd. You see, it uses this modulo again. If it equals to 0, then return false. You know what's prime, guys? Prime number? Oops.
No.
No.
It is similar to modulo. Prime number or whatever it is. Let's check this.
think it's only divisible by itself and 1, something like that.
Yeah. So basically, see, 2 divided by 2 is 1, then it's a prime number. If it's 2 divided by 6, and you can, it keeps getting divided by itself or other numbers, then it's not a prime number. You see this 2 divided by 12, it's a not prime number. But if it's 2, like 5 divided by 5, it's 1, then it's a prime number. So in our example here, they were using filter again. Console array.
So anytime it will be reminder 0, no? About prime number. Like num model I equal to 0 anytime.
Yeah, so whatever is greater than 0, it will be. Actually, not all of them are prime numbers, you see. So if you are passing this -3, -2, -1, 0, they are not prime. So whatever after 2 and see 6 and 8 and 10 are not prime numbers. Even 12 is not prime number. That is something like a, what is it called? Like, you can take a look when you are free. See, just coming to the filter, you are learning something new, you are reading it.
Kushtar, small question about the filter.
Sure.
Instead of element, it used the word, so you can use any name, right?
This is just a variable. You can say anything you want. But the general approach, or I wouldn't say it's the best practice, but usually you're going through the elements of arrays or object, and then good word to use is element. For example, if it in the description or in the problem it says array of words, then you can use singular word. If it says list of cars, then you can use just car. Okay. So it's just a variable, and then you're gonna check that variable against some value or some condition. Okay, anybody else? Any questions about this one? Okay. What time is it? Let's guys take a 5-minute break, okay? Because I want you to be more active. I think some of the students are already sleeping or what. I'm gonna pause for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Who didn't go for a break?
Me. Hi.
Yeah, if you didn't go to the break and you want to ask something or you want to talk, you have 4 minutes.
Yeah, in the portal there is a mistake. I sent it to Asilia, but she didn't reply. Maybe you can help.
Of course, we apologize when this kind of issue happen because, Asilia, as you know, she's in Poland, right? And she has to teach, she has other chores, but when there is this kind of issues or small like problems, you try to, negotiate, right? Which one I have to do first. And these kind of small issues or something wrong or something doesn't work, usually it stays on the second level because your first priority is, she has a baby, she has a daughter, and then she has to teach you guys, she has to prepare, she has to cook, clean, all the stuff, and then she might just forget this kind of stuff. And even me, like I'm working, Matt also working, Tanarvik is also working, everyone's working. And when you give us this kind of feedback, it's good. Like we try to, address it right away, but again, it comes to the priorities and we kind of, move on and we don't remember sometimes or we forget. And people also tend to forget what the issue that there was. So it happens sometimes.
Hey, Kushtar, can you tell us about the cohort that's starting in November? Will Marat be teaching the cohort?
Mahat Baikir right now is currently busy with his own project.
Oh, okay.
Small startup, right? And most likely he will be joining some of the classes, but he won't be full-time teaching.
So who will be teaching the new cohort that's starting this November?
So we have some instructors that are in, like, we have a conversation or we are talking with them. I might
Oh,
come
like
to the
new?
cohort and teach some HTML, CSS at the beginning. And when it comes to React, we'll see.
Like new teachers, or
I think
will
there is,
Amelia be going over there?
do you guys know, I think Halebek, or so he might teach this JavaScript and React, or I might come and teach, I don't know, we'll see. But, for the beginning, like first months, it will be HTML, CSS, and I will be covering some days, Celia will be covering, we will see there. Because in November cohort, there are students or people from different countries, especially from Russia and Kyrgyzstan, and they cannot really attend the classes that we are holding here in the evening. That's why we were forced to find another instructor in Kyrgyzstan. We found it already with talking to them. I don't know, he's supposed to join today and see the classes, but I didn't really see him today. Yeah, again, I mean, in short, we will have one instructor from Kyrgyzstan, one from USA. Not one, I mean, there will be 2 or 3 people who will be teaching some days. And we will be
Celia won't leave us though, right?
Who?
Celia, she won't leave us?
No, she will be with you till the
Okay. Okay, good.
not losing Celia.
Yeah, we cannot let her go.
Yeah. And again, Celia in Poland, and she's teaching you in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
So,
midnight. Yeah, I feel bad for her sometimes. Yeah, but
imagine,
she's a good
yourself
teacher,
teaching in the night.
right?
Kushtar,
Yeah.
do you have a recorded video from last week, Tuesday?
I did record, but I didn't do anything after that. So it should be in the Zoom's cloud.
Okay, can we have a recording?
Last week, remember I let you go into separate groups or into rooms, and even though we were recording, I don't know how it saved or how it recorded.
Yeah, it was only so that Alina wasn't there last Tuesday,
Yeah.
and what we did was we just had like a conversation with Tuba, and after that we just went into our groups, and then we were there for like 20 minutes, I think, and then we just talked with Marat, which wasn't recorded, but yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
The
Second
Tuba part is there, so
Okay. Yeah, you were just saying that you solved REPL questions from 30 to 40.
it was just like all teams
wasn't
together
Ah,
in
okay.
the rooms. Yeah.
you were in the different groups, and as I was
Okay.
joining each room, people were doing their own project, not problem solving. So I had to, I think we solved 1 or 2 questions, that's it.
Can I ask a question, like general, like about you? Like, how many years do you have experience on this? Are you right now? What is your position like? So
right now I'm working as a consultant and I'm in Chicago. I joined that company as a person who has more than 3 years of experience. Because as you might know, some of you know, I worked as a QA. And I added that in my experience, and I added another 2 companies as a front end. So in total, it gave me 3 years. And as I was looking for a job, time passes and people were considering my experience as a 3.5 years. Because when you put in the resume, right, you put the specific period of time, and you cannot just, change every time days are passing. So I just didn't do anything, but people consider it as a more than 3 years, and I said, okay, whatever.
What
Right
about
now-
years?
Sorry.
Then what are you gonna put then? Like the 6 months only experience?
No, if you would work at a real company, you would spend how many 3 or 4 hours a day working on the real project. All the rest, you would attend meetings, you would have some discussions. So basically, here you are spending a lot of time. 6 months you can consider as a 1 year of project, because when you're working in a real company, there is holidays, there is weekends. You come morning in the meetings. Sometimes you just end up being in the meetings all day. So here, the course is really intense. You are studying 5 days, 6 days, and you're, solving or you are reading during the day and attending the classes in the evening. So you're spending really good time here, which is, if you extend it, it might, if you were taking it slowly, you might study maybe 10 months, maybe a year. So for example, you can put 1 year as a student or as a employee somewhere, and then you can put another company, and doesn't matter. You put 8 months, you put 12 months, people will consider it as 1 year. So you will have 2 years of experience at least.
Okay, and so one more question, like where we can find like internship companies, like just to be practicing for free. I mean, like is there any like kind of like websites or like on the LinkedIn?
There are, you're not the first person who is trying to find a front-end job, right? There is something called Code Mentor. You can look at it. There is Pram. So it's really good platform. You schedule a time, somebody will come, they will introduce themselves, and they'll take an interview from you 30 minutes. And the second 30
Are you
minutes.
sharing your screen? Sorry.
Yes, please. So
we cannot see.
Really? I thought I'm sharing.
No.
Should I record it or everyone is back, right?
Already recording, I think.
No, it wasn't.
Yes,
I paused
recording.
it. Okay, I'm continuing the recording. Okay. So there is a platform called Pram. What it does is you log in, you sign up, and then when you come, it will ask what you want to do. I don't remember my account, but basically interview types. You can come, schedule a time. Usually it's 1 hour. You can schedule somebody who has similar experience to you will come and interview you first 30 minutes. And then the second half, you will do the interview to them. So
Have you tried this?
What is it?
Have you tried this?
I tried a couple of times, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So usually it's like university students or college students, they try to, learn and see how others are doing. So you can select data structures, you can do front end, you can do behavior.
Will the questions be given by the website or just like you guys just?
Yeah, website decides what kind of question to give.
Okay.
Basically, you just come and take an interview and be interviewed.
Okay.
So you can interview questions. See, there should be some, well, not here.
Was it helpful during your interviews? Like, was the questions similar?
Yeah, I mean, some of the questions are similar. For example, they say like, can you create this application that counts number of clicks, and then you have to implement, like you can implement in 1 hour, 2 hour, but sometimes you have to spend 30 minutes and try your best. So if the person is really experienced, they can do it. But if you are doing for the first time, you will be shocked, right? And you will just, type something, it will pass only 20 minutes and then you run out of time. But, as you try it again and again, you can try and build something in 30 minutes. So you can read about it. See here, people are solving in the GitHub, they're saving the questions. So this kind of question, there will be some illustration and then there is a question. See, given two array, you have to solve it and what kind of approach you can take. And I'm not sure if there is any implementation or Java. It's in Java, so yeah. So you can select any language you want in the prompt. All right, back to the class. So this question is checking for average of the elements. So given an array of numbers and we have to count the average. And I'm looking for volunteers. Because we solved enough questions and approach is similar. I see Ada Jusupova. Do you want to try something? Are you solving questions on your own or where are you at?
No, Kushtar, I am stacking.
Okay. These classes, right? These are for you to speak up, to try, to ask questions. So next time you can bring up some question and maybe me or your teammates can help you. So every class is an opportunity to, resolve your questions or issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. You can still ask here, like after class, you can ask for your teammate or somebody from the same state or same city just to stay another 10-15 minutes and ask for help. It's okay. Like, everyone has issues, everyone don't understand right away. Next, Erhan, can I try you? How is your
Kushtar.
progress?
Hi.
Do you want to try?
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay. So
Um,
you see the notes, right? So and people can help you too. If the array at a given key is empty, we return 0. If the property at a given key is not an array, 0. If there is no property given key, it should return 0. Okay.
First of all, we have to loop it, right? So for
remember we were using filter. So filter goes through all the elements and it checks. That's just an idea, but first what we do, like, do we start with the loop again, or we can cover this first two questions here?
let's filter it, yeah. Let's filter it.
Okay.
But we have to find the average numbers. So I think we have to get a sum, all of the numbers sum and
Are you saying let's start with loop, right? Yeah, sure. What are we doing this way?
Yeah, object key and length I++ E and reversing, right? How I understand this reversing. If object
So let's do this. So when you're solving a question, one of the good approach is just to take a note, like what do we need, right? Let's say it says average.
Average, yeah. This.
Yeah. And then you can say, oh, maybe I'll try loop it. Or you can say, I can use filter. Or you can say, I'm gonna use reduce, whatever. And then you can try this, and then try this, and then reduce. But
I
if you
think reduce is
I mean,
much
just an
better, right?
example. It's just an example, but again,
Yeah. For example, 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 we have to delete 2. I mean,
quite how many elements we have, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
How many elements? And 6 it will be if 2 it's 3. I mean,
Now we have 3 elements. If we divide by 3 number of elements, then it will turn to
1.5, right?
Mhm.
We have 3 elements. So
okay, let's ask for the help. Who wants to help here?
Can I help?
Yeah.
So
So you need
basically,
to explain why we're taking this approach and
so we took this approach because we want to sum all the elements inside of this array. So we're looping through that array to get all of the elements and then sum them. To be able to do that, we first need to create a variable storing the sum, which is going to be equal to 0. And we are going to, so basically sum is going to plus equal every every element inside it. No, not I. Is it I? It's object and then I. Yes, object and then square bracket I.
we are going inside that key, right? So we are still using key and then I. Am I right?
Yeah, that's
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because here object key, it's just we grabbing this key. I mean,
Oh yes, yes. I keep getting confused there, you know. Okay, and then yeah, and then so we need to divide it by the length of this array.
So sum
Divided by object key that length.
I think we need to do it outside the for loop.
We need to return that, right? Yeah. Yeah, outside.
Okay. This is how we divide it.
Object key that length. And you can just return this.
So you have to, do you want to run first or you want to first like proof of concept, like why you did it and why it should be correct?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so it works because we are inside the loop, object keys length times, which is the arrays times, right? So every time it loops, it comes to the sum and the sum is 0. And then on line 12, it says sum is equal to sum plus the I, the element inside the object's key, which is like 1, 2, 3. So every time it goes, like the sum is going to equal to like the first loop, it's going to be 1. The second loop, it's going to be 1 plus 2. The third loop, it's going to be 3 plus 3. And then it's going to come to 15, line 15. And it's going to divide the sums, like the sum by the length of the array. And it's going to give you the average amount.
Okay. Just a small feedback here. So it's good that you are like understanding the whole thing and explaining. One good approach would be like when you are talking about the code, you can say line 10. So I right away know what are you talking about. And when you're explaining sum, I'm like, okay, I see some here, I see some here. Which sum you mean? So
Okay.
that way you can say line 12 does this code. It executes this code. So it's approach always, because whatever any IDE has a line of code and you can tell which number or which line you are talking about.
Okay.
So we are ready. Sum is not defined. Why it's not defined?
Oh, because it's inside the for loop. We need to put it outside.
Okay. Is that it?
So plus subject. Yes.
Okay, I'm running it.
I think we need to do also the else conditions.
Yep. Because it checks for these conditions.
Yeah, so like we need to do this for loops and everything inside the if statement that we're gonna write, checking if it has any properties or if it's an array.
Yeah. So our old friend, right? See how handy has own property. Every time you have to check, you can just pass it. Then again, what's the second? Second condition we're checking against?
Array.
Array. Yeah.
Array dot is array.
Everyone understand what's array is? That array is array. If you still didn't get it, ask it. We will help you.
Can you explain one more time what array is array? Honestly, I understand, but it's
Yeah, that's
clear.
good. Yeah, you are asking. That requires some braveness, right? So I'll explain myself. So is array. What is array, right? For example, array, array. Okay, it's an object. Whenever there is uppercase array or uppercase string object, it means that we are using the actual array object implementation or construction. Okay, you can just Google it. Why array? What is array? Let's say array in here. JavaScript array class. So this is a class actually. Yeah, right way would be a class. So behind the engines of this JavaScript or Java any language, there is a classes that implement certain class and it has all the properties. For example, if you come to array, this is since we are talking about this class, see array, and this array class has lengths, add, concat, copy within, entries, every, filter, find, all these methods inside that array class. So when you are defining any array, like let's say array, my array, and you're saying this, this, and you start typing inside, you are using the template of the class. See, for example, whether it's string, whether it's numbers or whatever, list of numbers or array of arrays. Anyway, it's gonna be still array class. You are using still this array, but remember when you were solving last week, you were typing this kind of function, that prototype, or like you were using your own object, saying prototype, and then implementing your, what is it called? Polyfills. You were using polyfills. So you were basically building your own methods to your own object class. So again, this one is done. Array is array. It's already defined for us by the JavaScript developers. It says method determines whether the passed value is an array. Can you write here? Where is our? You guys still with me?
Yeah.
So array, as I said, array is already defined. We don't have to define anything. It's already inside array class. And then there is method defined is array. You see, like we don't have to think about, we don't have to, create ourselves. It's already there. And what we are doing is we are just using, and the argument is you have to pass array. It's a Boolean. let's say anything about Boolean. You know what's Boolean, right?
Yeah.
So
True
Boolean
and
is
false.
true. Yep. It always checks for true or false. Is array, and I said whenever there is or has, I mean usually it is, it always checks for Boolean whether it's true or not. And I gave you one example from the React, right? Is loading. There also we are using this array, I mean Boolean. So here we are passing array. How do you know it? By the square brackets. If you pass object, it says false. If you pass just string, regular string, it says false. If you pass undefined, it's also false. So let me just refresh this page. And so
What else if we have an array inside the object?
was it?
What else if we have an array inside the object?
Yeah, we will try that. Come on. Why it's giving us. So here again, if you run it, it will give us it returns the last one. So you want what you want to pass? Was it you or us?
Array inside object.
So you're saying that object, say object that key, right? But it will be the same thing. This example, it's gonna be false. But here, if you're key, do you mean something like this?
Yeah, no.
False, still false, because the first it reads this object outside this array, this object. That's why it just returns false, I guess.
It should be clear the array, right?
Yeah, like if we return empty, if we pass empty array, it should return, I don't know, true, you see, right away.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, that's why in our if statement, we access the key, which had array, you know, we first said object and then square brackets key to access to the key that's an array. That's why it worked in our case.
So Elan, next time when you have to check if array is empty or array has, I mean, you are using array, you can always check with this one, is array. Everybody else also.
Kushtar, can we try using it with reduce? Because I haven't really practiced reduce, you know. And reduce does the same job, right? It sums up all the elements, and then we can just divide it by the length.
Yeah, we'll try that.
And we also use filter. I want to see how filter works when we need to grab all the elements. Like, do we just write element, that's it, without condition?
For filter, you mean?
Yeah, after reduce, can we try it, this filter?
Yeah. So this code didn't work for us, right? Reduce, we have to do what previous value and the current value. So I'm gonna open it here. Everybody take a look. Reduce method executes a user supplied reducer callback function on each element of the array. So similar approach, it works on the array. And then as you can see on the line 2, see, it says previous value and current value, and it returns. And you can, work around or play with the current and previous values. So in our case, previous value is the sum, and then current values will be I in the loop.
And you know how you can set like initial value of 0? So that we can plus it, the total, right? That's
Yes.
where I get stuck. If you scroll up, it shows, there you go, like the, scroll down a little bit. Syntax, there you go. You can do initial value. With ASL, we practiced it.
Oh, so
Yeah,
yeah.
after like your callback function, you can add initial value that can add. It's just like let sum equal to 0. It's just like that.
So value to which previous value is initialized. First time the callback is called. Yeah. So initial value will be your first given value. I don't know how else I can explain. Initial value is specified that also causes current value to be initialized to the first value.
I think if you specify the value, it just starts from that number. Yeah. Otherwise, it's always 0.
Yeah. Looks like Akhtan already got it.
It says it's not 0, but the first element of array.
Where is it?
Right there.
The first value that also causes current value to initialize the
Yeah,
first.
if you initialize.
If initial value is specified. Okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's initial
Yeah, if you
value,
don't
but
do it.
it's current value initialized. But
So is it basically if you don't add the initial value, it's just gonna take the previous value and the current value. But if you add the initial value, the previous value becomes the initial value, right?
yeah, yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
as you can see, you can pass 2 arguments, or arguments or parameters. You can pass 3, you can pass 4. And then this array, if I'm not mistaken, what does that mean? I think it just returns array inside that array, whatever. If you sum here, or if you put against some condition, and you can store in the array, new array. Okay, let's implement it with reduce. So we say reduce array 1, reduce reducer. In our case, we don't have really the simple array. We have an object. So how we convert this object to array?
We can just say object and then the key and then dot reduce, right?
So instead of the sum, we are removing it. We don't need this sum right now.
And
Then,
the for loop.
Yeah, we don't really need this one. You can store in this variable average, right? So average. Then we will say object that key. What do we say here?
Dot reduce.
That reduce. Then
Callback function. And then initial value.
hold on, let me take a look.
So inside parentheses, you can say like A and B. A will be the like accumulator. B is the current value.
So
So instead of this A and B, it can be any letters, right?
yeah, you can name.
Okay.
Like
so I'm gonna name. So it will be really like it will have a meaning, right? And this one, current value. So here we are implementing it. Accumulator plus equals current value.
And then we would put the initial value on line 12 after curly brackets, right?
So we can start with 2, we can start with 0.
Yeah,
just an
it's
example.
optional. Yeah, you can put it.
So should we just try without this test, or I don't know if it's gonna work for that test?
Oh, do we need to divide it by the length of our array? We didn't finish
Oh, here.
We can just
calculating
say,
average.
Divide by
object key dot length. I wonder if we can do it inside it too, or
We can like put everything on the return statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can check right now, I guess.
Let's see. Syntax and let's go.
I think it's because of the comma
we have to
on line 12.
we have to put 0, right? Because if we don't, it's just gonna take the previous value.
I think we need else statement there.
So it's happening inside if
Oh, it's not inside if.
we didn't close it, right? So we put this inside.
You need to return accumulator plus. Yeah, you need to put return on line 11.
Oh, you will see. Because, oh yeah, callback function there. Oh, it's not fine. So
We have to return the average inside the if statement, right? I remember when using reduce, you have to return it outside it too, and then inside it too. Yeah, I'm confused with that.
Yeah, right after the parentheses, return average.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in average divided by the length of the. Yeah.
let's see. Okay, this is extra. This one is if statement. No, shall value. Okay, some of the condition didn't pass. So in the else statement, we wanted empty or 0. I mean,
Return 0, yeah. Oh, return 0.
Still failed. We are storing the variable.
I think it's failing because the empty array, and we didn't check for the emptiness of the array. Like if you see the test case, like key in its empty array.
This one, first one?
Yes.
The given key. We are grabbing the key is empty.
Is this object has own property? Does check it or not?
It just checks if it's empty yet. So it should cover that part. But
No, I mean, it checks the key, the property if it's inside, but it doesn't check the value inside the key, like the property.
okay, so another one.
Yeah, object key dot lengths like not equal to 0.
Go. Anybody has questions? Let's explain to those who didn't get it. Again, I'm going to open reduce. Again, just like has own property, reduce will be used during the interviews. Whenever there is a question like you have to run or you have to loop, like interviewers will ask, could you use reduce? And then you have to understand it. So It's a really good approach. If you know it, it's a big plus. If you don't know it, it will come again and again until you get it. So
Can you go back to the code? I want to ask.
on this one,
Yes, on the line 11, return accumulator plus equal to current value. So what is the accumulator will be on this case?
so remember in the previous code we said sum, the sum of the element, all of these elements. Here we're saying accumulator because by the definition it says it's like an accumulator. Where is it?
First value.
Yeah, first value, you have to pass something that will accumulate. Accumulate means it will just collect all the values. It will combine all of them, and then you can add on top of it every time when you meet new element as you loop. Why doesn't say any accumulate? But basically, when you hear the accumulator, you shouldn't be surprised because it's something just like sum. And for example, you might going through multiple conditions and you're collecting all the, for example, you have a test of couple or few test cases where you have to grab only the numbers that is less than 100. So in that case, you can use reduce and you can accumulate. You can, collect all the numbers that are less than 100. So in that case, you'll be using like accumulator plus equals to, and let's say there is a variable less than 100. So accumulator will accumulate new values and you will be assigning this value to the accumulator.
So accumulator is kind of like a variable, right? New variable.
Yeah, it's just a store or what else I can say, I don't know. Yeah, variable.
Okay. And current value is the keys, which has array.
Remember we were using for loop, right?
Yes.
It's just a for loop, just higher order for loop. Accumulator, it's your current, not current, the variable that you created. Let's say there was a sum like this, and we start with 0, of course, and then there is a for loop, right? And then there is what the current value, we have I, and every time it increases. But here we have just current value. Since we are going through the object and it has like multiple keys, and you have to go through all of them, you don't have to really use for loop. You can use just reduce.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kushtar, why are we returning inside?
Oh, this
Where
line
is it? No, line 13.
13. So this is it uses callback function. Callback function has to return something. Did you guys cover callbacks?
Yes, we did.
So let's see what it says. I'll go back later. These are, yeah, yeah, these are callbacks, but these are but like any other function, right? Arrow function, regular function. Why it's function? Function returns something. Am I right, or am I confusing this? Yeah, for example, function A, anonymous function, returns A plus 100. So every function, this means it's a callback function or arrow function, and why it's function has to return something. If it doesn't return anything, then it's not a function. So that's why we are returning here. Did we do any other approach here? We stopped around here. Let me just run. Did we submit? Okay, and I'm gonna move to this one over here. Who wants to explain arrow functions or this return? For example, here it's just a condition, but we're saying specifically we are saying return something because we don't have a arrow function here like this. We don't have this part, this highlighted part. That's why we specifically saying return, but we know it's also a if statement. But when you're using, what is our, yeah, next, this one, we could say return, or we could remove this return. It will still work because this arrow function, it functions just like regular function. See, we remove that return keyword and then it stopped working. In that case,
I think then you should just remove the curly brackets and put it in the same line, then it will work.
so here, let's say this way, you will see more of this arrow functions in the future, and it will make perfect sense. So whenever you see this, it means it has a callback or it has a function that returns something. Even here, arrow function. Here, you see arrow function A and B. And you just put this. Some people call it fat arrow. Some people say arrow function. So today, what we learned filter a little bit. We kind of covered filter a little bit. It has own property, and then this arrow function. When you have a time or after this class, spend at least 5-10 minutes read about it. Maybe you don't get it today, but tomorrow you will face it again, or somebody will explain again, and then you will kind of remember it, and then you understand. It's not something like programming is not that you learn in 1 year or 6 months. You always, even, I'm sure you guys seen that memes, like people forget, even they have like 5-10 years of experience, they forget the syntax for like simple for loop or like some other conditions or statements. They forget it. We are human beings, right? We forget things because whenever we learn something new, the old information just wipes out. So you learn today, maybe tomorrow, maybe after a month, you forget it. But again, if you take a look, you will remember it. Anybody has question, because we're gonna cover this and we can move to the next question.
Kushtar, so in the reduce, can we put the, can you, yeah, so the accumulator plus equals the current value. Can we store that in a value and then say, and then divide it by the length of the array inside the reduce? Would that work or no?
So when we are talking about this part or the whole thing, let's see this one.
Can you zoom in? It's
Yes.
too tiny.
Yeah. So basically, when you are using reduce, was it this one?
So you know how we're returning on line 13? Instead of that, I'm saying inside the reduce, just store the accumulator plus equals to current value in the variable. And then inside it, return the variable divided by the object key dot length.
There is a moment, right? So when we are using reduce, you see we have first parenthesis and then we have second one, and we are using it here. So we're not really getting outside of this before we implement something or before we put some logic here. Just like inside the for loop, right? If we are using something inside for loop, we are like each element inside like I, right? Array that I, we can access only inside that loop. this is similar approach. You cannot use accumulator outside of this reduce function here.
Yeah, I got
Start.
that. But I meant
Yeah.
like inside it, like can we store like let's say sum equal to accumulator plus equal current value, right? And then on the next line, like inside reduce, just return that value divide the object key dot length. You know what I mean? Like
I have tried it. If you I just Googled, so accumulator plus equal to current value divided by object key length. But in this case, we need to, I use math seal average because it gives like 1.333 as an outcome.
inside the reduce?
No, inside reduce, instead of 0, I divided accumulator plus equal current value to object key length.
Okay.
After that fat arrow. And REPL is giving the answer. Yeah.
So what Karina is saying, instead of all of these, you're saying are copy, right? So let's say average is 0 here, but after you putting was it this way? Right. So you're saying just use everything in one line, like return average right away here and reduce in one line?
So
Yeah.
I'm saying inside the reduce,
Mhm.
the accumulator plus equal current value, you see that?
Mhm.
Just store it in a value and then also inside reduce and the next line, just divide the object key and its length by the variable that we stored the accumulator plus equal current value with, and just return that inside the reduce. It will still work, right?
Should work, yeah, because right now we just we are taking a shorter approach for this. Because when you are writing real code or you are working in a real project, your code gets really long, and you have to eliminate or remove some redundant code or any line that's redundant there. So you have to make it as simple as possible and human readable, but it's not all the time, but still you have to make it clear that somebody can take a look and they understand right away. I know it's like doesn't make sense maybe right now, but in the future it will make. So for example, what we're using here, this one, yeah, and then what are we saying?
So on line 13, we're just storing that in a variable. Let sum equals to accumulator plus equal current value. So like before accumulator, just like store that.
So you want like new variable here?
No, like store the accumulator plus equal current value in a variable. So on line 14, we can just say let sum equal to. Yeah, and then so after this line, current value, after current value, we can, you can press enter and then we can just say sum divided by object key that length, and then we can return this line on. Yeah, and we can just return it on line 15.
Return sum, right?
We can just return,
This part.
Yes. Should we return that or should we just return the average because it will already, no, I think we would, So we would need to return this line 15.
But we are not returning
Not there, but just write like return before it,
Oh, you mean here?
Yeah.
And then what happens to this line? Should we just leave
And
it?
then we should just return average, right? Would that work?
Oh, okay. Now I got what you mean. see. Not sure if it's gonna work here. Object and we don't have an example here.
And then line 30, you can. Oh, it just returns true or false?
No, it should return the
That's
average
weird.
number. That was previous.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So
Oh, what? So it's wrong. Oh, Alina, was this what you were talking about? You used math seal to round it up.
Yeah, inside the reduce, I didn't create a new variable. I just said I put accumulator plus equal to current value inside parentheses and divided by object key length. And when I returned, I just said return math seal average. When I return, on line 17, I think.
So average what?
Math seal, and then
After average or before, like this, right?
before average, yeah. Math dot seal, and in parentheses, a seal as CEIL.
Was it this way? I'm sorry.
CEIL, average, yes.
Or we can also do this, right? Outside, we can store the object key that length in a variable, and then inside our reduce, we can just divide it by that, right? I think that would work too.
Right now, you see, we having like variable and we're storing here.
Yeah.
But
So the reason why it gave 1.2, I'm wondering that, is it because it couldn't get the object's length on line 15?
I think it's because it's looping, right? And then every time it loops, it divides by the length, and that's why you get this floating numbers. And
Oh, it loops.
yeah, this still
That's
this.
why.
Yeah.
so some accumulate, right? It collects or it accumulates every time, or how many times, whatever, and then we saying inside, or we are not getting out of this reduce function, and we're trying to divide it here. Maybe Ahtan is saying it's correct. I'm not really sure. Should we live this way? Does it make sense to everyone?
Maybe we can remove the length and put the 3, because we know how it's length, right? Can we try?
Maybe you can console log the sum every time, so we can see the number each time.
That really doesn't work here. But log, do you mean for return?
Yes.
Say sum?
Just sum, yeah. And then we can run and we can see like what's the sum.
Yep. So it was 1, and then second iteration it was 2.3, and then 3.7, and then when you divide it by.
Can we also console log the accumulator?
So you see, it takes the 1 and then divides by 3, and then it's like, and then.
I think 3.7 is divided by 2, right? This is the output. So you want to accumulate, right? And then current value. Let's see if it's gonna work. Sum accumulator current value, it's all one, and then sum is 2, accumulator is 2.3, and there's 2. So basically it's going through all of the steps one by one, and then last, why it's 1.25? And we're not using, I think there is extra.
Can we also console log object key dot length inside reduce?
Yeah. That key box, right? Length is 3. Oh, since beginning it was 3, 3, 3.
I mean, it's correct. It's dividing 3.73. It's 125. Accumulator is divided, not the current value. So it's 1.25. It's correct.
Okay.
But yeah, it's looping, so that's why it gets.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna leave just as this. Let's submit it. Or I can copy this code and submit this code, and you can play with it. That's one here.
You forgot math seal online 13.
But we don't have it here.
You deleted it.
I think Marcel is just kind of adjusting to the answer, not
Yeah.
real answer.
Yeah.
Round.
But if we were to do it, then we would have to do the average and outside, like dividing the object key length outside of the reduce. Then it will give the accurate answer.
Kushtar. Kushtar.
Yeah.
I think it's why it's 1 and 25 because this is every time is reducing and every time is dividing. 1 and 2 it's a 3 and 3 it's dividing for 2 it's a half, 1 and a half, and 1 and a half plus 3 it's 4 and 5. 4 and 5 denied for 3 it's 125.
How about that? What do you guys think?
Yeah, just a type 1 plus 2.
Where?
1 plus 2.
Just anywhere?
Yeah. Anyway, 1 plus 2, it's 3, right?
Yeah.
3 denied 2, it's 1 and a half. Yeah, 1 and a half.
Yeah. 1.5.
1 and a half. 1 and a half plus 3, it's reducing, you know. And 4 and a half, right? 4 and a half divide 2, it's 125.
Yeah. I don't know. It will equal to 4.5 and divided by 2, you say 125. Or it was 3 here, 2, right?
It's every time it's reducing and every time it's dividing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can return the sum. You see the line 11, sum divided by object key length. We can just delete that, and then we can just outside of it just return average divided by object key length.
Okay, little slowly. So we are removing this line.
We're just removing through the length, the
Oh.
sum, everything. Just a return statement we're removing. We're going back to the original solution. Remember before I complicated everything? So yeah, and then we're just gonna return that line 10.
This way.
Yeah, and then on line 12, we can just divide it by object key length.
The initial one. You guys good with it? Submitting. Okay. It's already past 10 o'clock here, guys. So we are finishing today's class and I'm stopping the recording.
Thank you, Kushtar.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Kushtar.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kushtar.
that's
Bye.
fine.